Hello, and welcome to Dreamy Tales, a sanctuary where everyone can experience calm and a touch of magic before gently drifting into sleep. Tonight, we invite you on another enchanting journey, a story that helps soothe the mind and nurture a sense of peace. Before we begin, let's take a moment to prepare our bodies and minds for a comforting, restorative rest. Make yourself cozy, and with each slow inhale and long exhale, let the cares of the day gradually slip away. It's not always easy to step back from the day's demands, especially as night falls. Yet, remember, the less we worry about how quickly we'll fall asleep, the simpler it is for our minds to release any remaining tension. Allow the gentle flow of your breathing to wash away lingering concerns, and let the story ahead guide you into a state of deep relaxation. Now, settle in, and let the dreamy atmosphere softly wrap around you. Enjoy this story, and may you drift into a peaceful, restful slumber here on Dreamy Tales.
A soft percussion of rain drummed on Ilara's umbrella, a gentle rhythm accompanying her unhurried steps through the tranquil woods. High above, the ash leaves whispered secrets back to the falling drops, their surfaces slick and gleaming. Rivulets streamed down the furrowed bark of ancient oaks, vanishing into the receptive earth. Though moisture hung heavy in the air, a surprising warmth enveloped her, a cozy counterpoint to the drizzle. It was one of those spring afternoons pregnant with life, the forest floor a tapestry of bluebells, their delicate heads bowed beneath the rain. Nearby, the unmistakable sweet pungency of wild garlic threaded through the damp air. Borne on the breeze, fragments of laughter and conversation drifted from unseen walkers somewhere along the network of paths Ilara knew so intimately, though today destination held no sway over her meandering. She paused, captivated by a blackbird foraging across the uneven ground. Its plumage, far from simple black, shimmered with hidden depths. Iridescent hints of beetle-wing green, bruised purple, the profound blue of a moonless night. Droplets clung to its feathers like minuscule, perfect crystals. The bird regarded her with a bright, intelligent eye for a fleeting second, before vanishing into the undergrowth, leaving Ilara with the distinct impression it shared her quiet enjoyment of the woods this day. Beside the wide path, near a moss-crowned tree stump, she halted. Closing her eyes, Ilara drew in a long, slow draft of the rich, loamy air, then released it just as deliberately, feeling the tension dissolve from her shoulders, melting away like mist. A profound sense of contentment washed through her, a quiet gratitude for the vibrant pulse of life surrounding her. Further on, the path converged at a familiar junction. Straight ahead lay the pond, where swans navigated the water with effortless grace. To the right, a track sloped downward toward wildflower meadows, holding the promise of glimpsing the year's first butterflies. Yet, Ilara felt drawn left, deeper into the woods. Here, the trees pressed closer, their canopy thickening, muffling the sounds of other people until they faded into serene silence. The trail opened unexpectedly into a clearing Ilara couldn't recall encountering before, yet its sudden appearance felt entirely welcome. A circle of ash trees embraced a small patch of luxuriant grass. Tucked to one side stood a wooden shed, draped in creeping ivy but appearing freshly painted in a deep forest green. Its door rested slightly ajar. Curiosity stirred within her. What might lie inside? Intrigued, she crossed the clearing towards it. Approaching, she noticed a gleaming brass plaque affixed to the door. It read, "Miniature Railway." Ilara reached out, her hand tentative, and pushed. The door swung inward without a sound, in silent invitation. This, she suspected, was no ordinary model railway. Inside, the shed defied its external dimensions, revealing a space far larger than anticipated. Cool darkness enveloped her, save for a single intense spotlight illuminating a long table. Beneath this focused beam lay a miniature railway, a breathtakingly detailed landscape evoking a perfect slice of English countryside. Rolling hills, dotted with sheep and cattle smaller than postage stamps, swept across the scene. A narrow lane wound past thatched cottages, their tiny gardens strung with minuscule lines of washing. At the Lilliputian station, a steam engine of deep sapphire blue waited patiently with 2 carriages. Across from it stood a silent, exquisitely crafted watermill beside its still pond. Leaning closer, Ilara absorbed the intricate details. A village church with a square tower overlooking a green where ducks preened beside impossibly small, fluffy ducklings. A greengrocer's shop receiving a delivery of infinitesimal tomatoes. A miniature milk float parked further down the lane. On the station platform, a conductor figure, clad in shirt and waistcoat, leaned nonchalantly against a lamppost. Her gaze followed the train tracks. They didn't loop back to the station, but instead meandered through the village, traversed the countryside, and disappeared into a tunnel carved into the landscape's edge. Where could such a mysterious tunnel lead? Then something else caught her eye. A coin slot set into the table's rim. The key, surely, to animating this silent world. But she was certain she carried no coins. Almost involuntarily, her hand slipped into her pocket. Her fingertips brushed against a cool, round metal object nestled in the very bottom seam. Strange, she had no memory of it being there. Lifting it out, she weighed the coin in her palm, tracing the worn, cool edge with her thumb, feeling its subtle chips and scuffs against her skin. The spotlight glinted off its surface, sending a delightful shiver down her spine. Ilara slid the coin into the slot and closed her eyes. She inhaled deeply, holding the breath for a suspended moment. As she slowly exhaled, she opened her eyes. She stood on the platform of a train station, bathed in the warm light of a spring morning somewhere deep in the English countryside. Glancing around, a jolt of recognition shot through her. It was the very station she had been gazing down upon only moments before. The model railway had sprung to life, and she was within it. Here, unlike the damp woods, blue skies arched overhead. the sun was diligently burning through the last vestiges of overnight mist, and the sweet aroma of freshly cut grass hung heavy on the still air. Moving away from the station's red brick building, Alara stepped out of the shade, tilting her face to welcome the sun's warmth. At the platform's far end stood a conductor, Maeve, resplendent in shirt and waistcoat, a wide, welcoming smile gracing her features. She waved. Two sharp, cheerful whistles pierced the air from the sapphire engine. If Alara wished to discover this magical train's destination, she'd best climb aboard. She opened the wooden carriage door and stepped inside. No sooner had she settled onto a plush red velvet seat in her compartment than another whistle sounded. Plumes of white steam drifted past her window. Peering out, she caught sight of a heron landing with stately grace beside the mill pond. As she watched it, the train began to glide smoothly out of the station, the mill and its tranquil water sliding from view. Beyond the mill lay a vast orchard, row upon row of short, gnarled apple trees stretching towards the horizon. She was undeniably far from the shed in the woods now. The trees were heavy with blossom, clouds of pink and white promising future bounty. Over the summer, these petals would drift to the earth, replaced by the first nascent buds of fruit, swelling day by day, becoming rounder, brighter, juicier. In months to come, these fields would hum with activity, pickers gathering plump green bramleys and speckled royal galas. But for now, the only sounds were the melodies of thrushes and blackbirds, interwoven with the rhythmic click-clack of the steam engine. The carriage felt warm, rocking gently as they passed the sea of blossom. The velvet seat was soft against her arm. Her breathing slowed, her body swaying in time with the train's easy motion. As the orchard thinned, the fields grew tidier, the grass shorter. Cows and sheep grazed with languid contentment beneath the brilliant sky. Behind a low stone wall, a cricket pitch emerged. A cluster of figures in white ambled onto the green, preparing for the day's play. The pitch sloped gently away, and beyond another wall, the grass gave way to a pebble beach bordering a wide, meandering river. Willow trees drooped over the water, their lowest branches trailing fingertips across the slow-moving current. Ilara pondered their age, silent witnesses to the river's ceaseless flow, day after day, year after year. The engine's shuffling rhythm eased as it followed the river's curve. They were close enough now for Ilara to spot the occasional fish basking in the sun-dappled shallows. How lovely that clear, fresh water would feel, she mused. Cool, soft, refreshing. She could almost imagine the gentle tug of the current against her fingertips, the prickle of cool water on her skin. Soon, however, the river and the rails diverged. In the distance, a sandstone outcrop rose sharply against the clear sky. At its base yawned a tunnel, the very one that had intrigued her back in the shed. It drew steadily closer. Where would it lead? She pressed her face to the window, looking back as the train eased into a gentle leftward curve. The glass felt warm against her cheek. Through a shimmering heat haze rising from the ground, the entire village lay spread out below. The river and the cricket pitch, the orchards and fields, the church spire and the mill. A portrait of perfect tranquility. With one last backward glance, Elara closed her eyes and settled deeper into her seat. Darkness enveloped the carriage as the train plunged into the tunnel. She took a moment to scan her body, noticing any lingering tension. With a single deep breath, discomfort dissolved. She felt grounded, her body pleasantly heavy against the soft velvet. She knew they had emerged when the profound darkness abruptly shifted to a cool, bluish light. Opening her eyes, she gasped. Towering spruce and pine trees, mantled in thick snow, slipped past just feet from the window. It was as if the magical train had traversed not just space, but seasons, leaping from English spring to alpine winter. The trees momentarily parted, revealing a breathtaking panorama. The tunnel had delivered her to the floor of a wide valley, flanked by immense, craggy mountains. A fresh, thick blanket of snow covered the fields, stretching between the train and the steep slopes. Above, heavy gray clouds hinted at more snow to come. Before she could take it all in, the trees closed in again. But she noticed the landscape scrolling past her window with decreasing speed. Leaving her compartment, Elara walked down the corridor to peer out the opposite side. Here, snow-frosted boulders lay scattered at the base of sheer, dark gray cliffs ascending towards the sky. The tracks were clearly hugging the curve of another mountain. She felt the brakes engage as the train glided to a smooth halt at a minuscule station, little more than a concrete platform with a few bright red seats beneath a simple plastic shelter. The lack of buildings afforded an unobstructed view back down the valley. Before her, an expanse of untouched white snow stretched into the middle distance, while great sloping banks of pine climbed the valley sides. The valley narrowed towards a cluster of colossal mountains, their high, jagged peaks wreathed in swirling clouds. An urge to explore this wintry platform arose, but Elara glanced down at her jacket, suitable for a damp spring walk, but hardly for this snowy realm. Just as she wondered what to do, an overhead locker clicked open. A pair of thick black winter gloves tumbled out. Smiling, she picked them up and peered inside the locker. Remarkable luck. A knitted hat lay within, white wool flecked with gray, alongside a long padded jacket. Slipping it on felt like being cocooned in a soft, warm duvet. She ambled towards the carriage end, pulling on the hat and gloves. Reaching the door, she turned the silver handle and stepped lightly onto the snow-covered platform. A satisfying crunch echoed in the crisp air. The powder was even deeper than it looked. A light breeze stirred the topmost layer of snow into dancing spirals around her ankles, and the chilled alpine air tingled against her nose and cheeks. From this vantage point, the entire valley unfolded before her. These mountains, she realized, had stood here silent and immense, for millennia. Their peaks remembered Pangaea. They had witnessed countless sunrises and sunsets, and would continue their vigil for eons more. Their great ridges and spines were sculpted slowly, patiently, by wind, water, and time. It struck her then. No matter how vast something seems, how overwhelming or immutable, with enough time and patience, little by little, transformation is possible. She stood for a moment, allowing gratitude for the magnificent scene to fill her. Magical though the view was, the warmth of the carriage beckoned. Retracing her steps, she climbed back inside. Moments later, the train began to move again. The forest thickened outside the window as she removed the hat, gloves, and jacket, stowing them back in the locker. Just as she clicked it shut, the train entered another tunnel, sparking fresh anticipation. Where would this passage lead? Abruptly, the grays and whites of the mountains dissolved into a hazy oceanic blue, and the resonant sound of heaving, rolling surf filled the carriage. The train was now trundling along a track poised at the very edge of the sea. Between the water and the low cliff hugging the rails lay a sandy beach, though the tide was clearly high. They were so close to the waves, Ilara felt she could almost reach out and touch the spray. Standing, she slid open the carriage window. The cool, salty tang of the sea air rushed in, ruffling her clothes with a warm breeze. The ocean stretched before her, seemingly infinite. To her right, the sun hovered just above distant headlands, reaching into the water, its rays scattering like diamonds on the surface, just beyond the breaking waves. A gentle splash caught her eye, then what looked like a light brown, furry cap bobbing on the swell. Another appeared, then a third. What could they be? Now the small forms seemed to be floating lazily on their backs. Recognition dawned. Sea otters. A truly fortunate sighting. These enchanting creatures, she knew, delighted in diving into kelp forests for sustenance, capable of holding their breath for minutes as they twisted and played in the cool depths. They possessed special pouches in their chest fur for storing food, often floating placidly on the surface while nibbling shellfish. They were social, too. Groups or rafts often linked paws while resting or eating to stay together. Families sometimes even used strands of kelp to anchor themselves to one another, preventing drift. Out in the ocean, the otters floated serenely, watching the train chug slowly past. Ilara blinked, and in that instant, they vanished beneath the waves. Settling back into her seat, her eyelids grew heavy. Perhaps it was time to return. As if in answer, the steam engine emitted a soft whistle just as the train entered yet another tunnel. She allowed her eyes to drift closed. When she opened them again, the familiar orchards slid past the window. The air was cooler now, the sun hanging low, painting streaks of purple and pink across high, thin clouds. The scent of springtime drifted through the open window once more. The day was gently closing. The rhythm of the wheels on the track slowed, decelerating as a familiar village drifted into view. The church, the mill, the blossom-laden trees. It felt like mere minutes ago she was here, yet stepping off the train, she felt the satisfying weight of a long, fulfilling day. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ilara closed her eyes, drawing in a long, slow breath, then releasing it just as slowly. Opening her eyes again, she found herself back in the ivy-clad shed discovered in the woods. Below her, petite and perfect as ever, lay the magical miniature railway. The shed door swung open silently. Outside, the rain had ceased. The sun managed a final peek over the treetops. She couldn't have been gone long, however. The grass remained slick with moisture. It was time to head home. Leaving the shed, Ilara walked slowly across the damp grass towards the path she had followed that morning. The sounds of muffled conversation and laughter drifted back from deeper in the woods, punctuated by the distant call of a swan. As she reached the trees, she stole a glance back towards the clearing. To her astonishment, the shed was gone. No trace remained. Where the structure had stood moments before, only emerald grass swayed, glossy and undisturbed by anything more than the recent rain. A smile touched Ilara's lips as she walked deeper into the trees. Perhaps one day she would wander this way again and rediscover the magical railway. She hoped so, but she carried a quiet certainty that if another adventure awaited her, it would find her when the time was right. A blackbird darted across the path ahead, a twig clutched firmly in its beak. Sunlight, filtering through the canopy, dappled the woodland floor in shining pools, illuminating the lingering dampness from the morning's shower. With one final deep breath drawn in and slowly released, Ilara turned towards the comforting familiarity of home. Within the heartwood of an elder forest, where sunlight filters through leaves like stained glass, and the air hums with unseen energies, lies a sanctuary. Verdant ferns unfurl beside clusters of violet starbloom, carpeting a realm apart, a haven woven from magic and leaf. Here, amidst blossoms exhaling perfume and trees whose boughs scrape the clouds, creatures of myth make their dwelling. Their refuge, a clandestine garden, conceals itself behind a shimmering cascade of restless ivy, a living curtain guarding its secrets. Beyond it, emerald grasses climb, blade upon blade, reaching skyward until they form a dense, whispering ceiling, rendering the arched entryway nigh invisible, a seclusion cherished by its inhabitants. Yet, whispers of this enchanted enclave have on occasion drawn the bold and the curious. Adventurers, fueled by legend, have navigated the forest's depths, sometimes even slipping past the sentinel charged with the garden's protection. This guardian, Ethelred, is a paradox of forms. The discerning head of a lynx, the vast, feathered pinions of a peregrine, fused to the tawny, powerful body and tail of a lioness. Its eyes, great orbs of molten gold swirled with brown, hold pupils as dark and almond-sharp as obsidian shards. Though armed with formidable claws and teeth, meant to deter intruders, Ethelred possesses a soul gentle as summer moss. It would sooner swat a drifting seed pod than cause harm. This placid demeanor, the kindness pooling in its gaze, belies a latent power. the ability to weave spells that could unravel a human's very name from their memory. Ethelred stands as one of the earliest entries in the forest's chronicle, the Viridian Bestiary. This tome, bound in supple hide with gilded script curling across its cover, rests beneath a crystal cloche upon a weathered stone plinth within the rose arbor. It meticulously documents the garden's denizens, their arrival, their unique gifts, their designated roles. Ethelred's entry confirms its ancient duty, keeper of the gate. Behind the swaying ivy veil, the archway itself is a masterpiece, wreathed in climbing vines bearing blossoms shaped like tiny hearts, blushing pink and pristine white. Forged from iron, twisted and hammered into elaborate arabesques, the gate depicts a sylvan fantasy. Rabbits, foxes, and deer cavorting amongst fantastical foliage and blooms. While on watch, Ethelred favors a specific posture, sprawled flat, forelegs extended like offerings, hind legs tucked neatly. Boredom, a frequent visitor, prompts languid paw-licking, luxurious stretches, or deep, rumbling naps, broken only by the nudging of a garden gnomekin. Ah, the dell dwellers of the secret garden. Diminutive they may be, yet their daily toil is immense. These diminutive horticulturists, skin like weathered bark, beards like spun moonlight, and pointed caps askew, are the true custodians of this hidden paradise. Their village, a cluster of hollows nestled at the roots of colossal evergreens, lies just beyond the gate, surrounded by oval flower beds and soaring conifers. In their scant leisure, they knit thick sweaters and socks from yarn meticulously spun from bamboo fibers. The dell dwellers labor ceaselessly, ensuring their cherished garden flourishes. This often involves overseeing other mythical residents who feign industry while indulging in idleness. The Glimmerwings, especially, possess a notorious penchant for shirking their tasks. These fey beings, cousins to sprites but distinguished by pointed ears and 4 iridescent dragonfly-like wings, inhabit an adjacent meadow where delphiniums gleam like scattered sapphires. Officially, the garden's appraisers, the Glimmerwings, ought to hover, minuscule clipboards poised, assessing the nectar quality favored by the garden's honeybees. More often than not, however, duty is forgotten. They flit away, drawn by the lure of wild blackberries ripening in thickets near the cherry trees. The cherry blossom field is a realm of ephemeral pink, where countless petals drift from venerable trees, blanketing the ground in a soft, fragrant tide. This dreamlike expanse is the domain of Renka. In her true guise, this cunning spirit resembles a fox of exquisite grace, long, slender limbs, a sharply intelligent muzzle, and fur of purest white that shimmers in the dappled light. But Renka is a mistress of transformation, often adopting other shapes. Her occasional impersonation of a dell dweller, much to their collective exasperation, is a favored prank. Renka counts among the forest's most ancient inhabitants. Her kind accrues tales throughout their long lives, up to 9 in total. Currently, 7 brushy tales, each a distinct hue of the rainbow, attest to her considerable age, a subject she politely avoids. Her life force, her magic, resides within a smooth, round gemstone, pulsating with a gentle, amber luminescence. This soul jewel, typically nestled deep within her most luxuriant tail, is guarded fiercely. When assuming other forms, a panda perhaps, whose black and white fur contrasts pleasingly with the collar, she wears the gem upon a white leather band studded with tiny gold stars. In her vulpine shape, she delights in the languid hours beneath the cherry boughs, meticulously grooming as pink petals descend like silent snowfall. 2 centaurs also roam the garden paths. They favor dawn strolls through the cherry blossoms when dew jewels every leaf and petal. Brother and sister, these half-human, half-equine beings, present a study in contrasts. Corvus, the brother, stands a commanding 7 feet, possessing the glossy black mane of a proud stallion, sun-kissed olive skin, and thoughtful hazel eyes. Althea, his sister, slightly shorter, boasts a fair complexion, cheeks flushed like roses, and eyes the startling blue-green of tropical waters. Her platinum blonde mane cascades in a single, thick braid reaching her knees. Corvus and Althea share a vital, albeit infrequent, responsibility. They are tasked with discreetly guiding unexpected visitors back towards the arched gate, where Ethelred waits to gently erase their memories of the hidden place. They then observe silently as the bewildered humans depart through the ivy curtain. Though intrusions are rare, the centaurs approach their duty with solemnity, bound by a deep friendship with the dell dwellers. According to the dell dwellers, trespassers, particularly humans, represent a significant threat. Humans, they grumble, bring disruption. They pluck the golden sun blossoms with no thought for the gentle ogres who painstakingly cultivate them. They carelessly crush beds of scarlet poppies and pink tulips, tended with immense patience by the garden's bramblehorn. This imposing figure, a man's torso atop powerful bovine legs, complete with a bull's head, long brown tail, and wielding a gleaming silver axe, invests years in nurturing his floral charges, sighing profoundly when his work is trampled. The dell dwellers find it perplexing that some of their mythical neighbors claim kinship with humans, yet those creatures often counsel understanding. Most humans, they argue, are merely curious, their intentions harmless. Still, some dell dwellers mutter amongst themselves, questioning whether the gentle Ethelred remains suitable for gate duty. Perhaps the formidable bramblehorn would prove a more effective deterrent. To deliberate such matters, the dell dwellers convene a council of elders, meeting occasionally in a circular clearing amidst a sea of daisies. Today, the question of Ethelred and its role is revisited. One elder, her pointed hat pulled so low it obscures her eyes, argues that the guardian is no longer fit for purpose. Her attire, a white frock, yellow sash, and green cap, mirrors the daisy field precisely, prompting speculation about deliberate camouflage. Humans, she contends, have learned the ways of sphinxes. They know of their fondness for riddles and bargain passage by offering to solve one. However, the presiding elder offers a counterpoint. Perhaps the solution lies not in replacing Ethelred, but in arming it with more challenging enigmas. True conundrums that would baffle even the sharpest human minds. Yet, when the elder in white requests an example, the head Dell Dweller frowns, admitting his own inability to craft rhymes sufficiently perplexing to thwart determined intruders. "Allow me," volunteers another elder, clad in a blue tunic and black hat, stroking his extensive beard. "I wear an eye of blackest night. My hair is golden, bold and bright," he recites. "My feet are planted, strong and sound. I turn my face where sun is found." What am I? A collective shake of heads ripples through the council. "A sunflower," they murmur in unison. "Far too simple." After much contemplation, the Dell Dwellers concede that their expertise is too deeply rooted in horticulture. Human ingenuity would likely always unravel their garden-themed riddles. "Best leave Ethelred at the gate," concludes the head elder. All factors weighed, the lynx falcon lion remains the most adept at handling human curiosity. Crucially, it alone possesses the magic to veil memories, should the need arise. With the matter settled, the Dell Dwellers disperse, returning to their root-hollow homes or their meticulously tended plots. When not luxuriating beneath the cherry blossoms, Renka fulfills her duty as the garden's messenger, relaying the Dell Dwellers' directives to other inhabitants. Her first call takes her to the topiary garden, where Triform dedicates its days to shaping dense evergreen shrubs into fantastic figures. Triform is, arguably, the most gifted gardener of them all, a surprising feat given its composite nature. It possesses 3 distinct heads, one of a goat, another of a lion, the third a serpent, each with its own perspective. Yet gardening is the singular passion uniting them. When sculpting foliage, the 3 heads operate in remarkable harmony, their combined creativity yielding breathtaking results. Triform cultivates towering boxwoods in varying shades of green, transforming them with pruners, shears, and immense loppers into living sculptures. Gargoyles contemplate eternity, carved from solitary bushes, fists propping chins. Grinning trolls, their bushy hair sculpted skyward, emerge from broad hedges. Its creations often honor fellow garden residents. One such figure depicts the colossal serpent, Coilfang, whose task is to prepare land for new plantings, plowing vast tracts with its formidable fangs. Triform renders its serpentine friend as a perfect circle, mouth engulfing tail. Beside it stands a representation of Cinderwing, the majestic firebird, sculpted from a honeysuckle bush, whose red firecracker-shaped blooms and tiny golden bell-like flowers evoke the creature's fiery essence. This juxtaposition is deliberate, nodding to the age-old rivalry between serpent and bird. The crux of their dispute: immortality. Coilfang insists the garden has room for only one emblem of eternal renewal, of endless beginnings. Cinderwing, perpetually reborn from its own ashes, concurs on the principle, but fiercely contests the serpent's claim to the title, citing its own ancient mythological precedents. The truth of their origins, however, is lost. Any definitive record vanished long ago, consumed by fire, according to Cinderwing. It once possessed an ancient papyrus scroll detailing its genesis, settling the matter of seniority. When the Council of Elder Dell Dwellers convened to mediate, they requested this proof. A crestfallen Cinderwing confessed the scroll had been incinerated during a heated argument with a Skyclaw. This erstwhile friend, a proud hybrid of eagle and lion, had declared itself the ultimate mythical bird, shattering Cinderwing's last shred of patience. Unable to contain its inner fire, it erupted in flames, accidentally destroying the very evidence held in its talons. How, Cinderwing lamented to the council, could a Skyclaw, a creature only part avian, dare claim superiority? Griffins are intelligent, certainly, a trait evident in their keen eagle features, and strong, thanks to their lion bodies and sharp talons. But this does not a great bird make, Cinderwing asserted. A phoenix lives forever. What surpasses that? What of a serpent that lives forever? The head Dell Dweller had interjected, gesturing towards Coilfang, which had been silently encircling the assembly. And so, lacking proof, Cinderwing reluctantly agreed to share the title of Premier Immortal with Coilfang, extracting only the council's affirmation that it, the magnificent Cinderwing, was undeniably a finer bird than any Skyclaw. Agreed, declared the Dell Dwellers, closing the case. As twilight deepens, painting the sky in bruised purples and dusky oranges, most garden dwellers conclude their labors. The sun dips below the forest's edge, ushering in a starlit hush. Yet for 2 inhabitants, the workday is just commencing. Hoarfrost Jotun emerges from his shadowed cavern as the celestial vault turns obsidian, sprinkled with diamond dust. This colossal giant, sculpted from deep blue, multifaceted ice, possesses 2 crystalline horns, eyes that glow with cold light, and a beard of glittering white icicles. He wields a massive gold and silver sledgehammer, often employed to clear terrain for new growth. His cave lies at the garden's heart, within a modest peak whose solitary summit just pierces the forest canopy, an ideal vantage for his duties as senior irrigation specialist, a title he bears with immense pride. Ascending to the peak, the frost giant draws a profound breath. His exhalation releases a cool, mist-laden breeze across the land, scattering millions of minute ice particles. This crystalline breath coats the topiary garden, the cherry blossom field, and flower beds bristling with lupines resembling azure corn cobs. Hoarfrost Jotun's breath settles upon the intricate garden maze, its winding hedgerows a favorite playground for the centaurs who navigate it blindfolded. This nightly cooling supplements the morning dew, preserving soil moisture until sunrise. Occasionally, however, his frosty exhalation proves too potent, threatening delicate flower and vegetable beds with a killing freeze. This is where the frost giant's steadfast companion intervenes, Emberhound of the secret garden, a cheerful, three-headed, fire-breathing canine with gentle blue eyes, a short gray coat, and a spiky draconic tail enters the scene. Once guardian of the underworld's gates, Emberhound now embraces his role as the garden's official warmer. Each night, he trots silently through the plantings, his three noses sniffing for areas succumbing to the chill. Upon finding such a spot, he curls up within it, radiating a profound warmth that revitalizes every plant, flower, and shrub within a wide radius, coaxing them back from their icy torpor. On nights free from warming duties, Emberhound pads softly towards the garden gate, careful not to disturb the slumbering dell-dwellers, to visit Ethelred. A shared history of guardianship forged a strong bond between them. The three-headed dog, after all, understood security, having patrolled Hades' entrance for millennia. Beneath the archway, now silvered by moonlight that drains the color from the heart-shaped blossoms above, the two friends converse. Ethelred rests in its preferred pose, forelegs outstretched, hind legs tucked. A new riddle forms in its complex mind. I sound like slumber for the rose and daisy. It murmurs, its voice a low rumble. Not men, but blooms might count their sheep in me. A place for mythic folk like you, maybe. What am I? Emberhound's three heads grin in unison. A flower bed, he replies, his voice a warm rasp. As the guardians talk deep into the night, the secret garden beyond the ivy curtain sleeps peacefully beneath the vast starry canvas. Within their root hollows, contented dell-dwellers dream of moon-washed lilies, murmuring streams, and the quiet fellowship of mythical beings, resting under the benevolent gaze of the moon.